Hello, I'm Jessie the Sleepy Koala, and today I want to do a recap of the new Brandon Sanderson novel, Cytonic. Cytonic is the third novel in the Skyward or Cytoverse universe and follows Spensa and Mbot as they travel into the nowhere. At the end of Starsight, Spensa and Mbot jumped into a portal to escape the Superiority, and we were left on this giant cliffhanger of what would happen next. Well, what happened next was quite the ride. Spensa ends up in the blackness, empty space nowhere that she is familiar with. And while she is there, she hears a voice that tells her to look for the path of elders. Then she is thrown into a jungle, which is very disorientating. Spensa is trying to figure out what to do. Mbot is very upset with Spensa and wants to have the conversation of why she left him then and there. Mbot started to get emotions and is definitely feeling them in this scene, and Spensa brushes him off, so he runs off into the jungle, leaving her alone. Spensa then gets captured by pirates, because, of course, there's pirates in the nowhere. Why not? While she is captured, she is cytonically talking to this mysterious voice that she doesn't know. This mysterious voice ends up riding into the clearing she's in on this dinosaur mantis creature to help rescue her. At the same time, Mbot has come back and has also helped to get her out of her bonds. One of the pirates during all of this is turning into a delver. So, that's going really well. Mbot, Spensa, and their newfound friend, Chet, run away through the forest, and there is eventually a chase with the Delver behind them, and Spensa realizes that she is not just on a forest, she is on an island, and there are a bunch of islands around. She ends up escaping with Chet and Mbot to another one, and they get away from the Delver. Chet and Spensa decide to team up, and when they go to rest during the night, Spensa realizes that Chet is not just someone named Chet. He is Commander Spears, Mbot's former pilot as well. Unfortunately, Chet really dislikes Mbot and thinks that he's an abomination. He also has no memory whatsoever of before going into the nowhere. He tells Spensa that she will also start to lose herself and her memories if she is not around people or if she doesn't have what are known as reality ash. Reality ash comes from people coming into the nowhere, but also from reality icons, which Spensa happens to have, it being her father's pin. So they are very lucky in the fact that they have something that's just going to create reality ash, and they hopefully won't lose any more of their memories. Spensa tells Chet that she has to go on the journey to the Path of Elders, so he helps her get to the first site, which is an old relic that has all of the cool swishy writing that keeps popping up around the stories. Like, there was some in the Delver Maze, and there's some in the caves in Detritus. So it's been this big mystery of what this stuff is, and turns out it is living memories in nowhere. And Spensa starts the journey of learning about the history of the nowhere and also about cytonics. She sees a vision, Chet also sees the vision, of the start of the nowhere and the first cytonics to visit the nowhere, which leads her to realize that the nowhere is what causes cytonics, and it is the leaking radiation from the nowhere that has led to cytonics in the population. At the end of the vision, she is shown where the next Path of Elders spot is, and it is unfortunately in the territory of the Broadsider pirates. So she now has to go and visit the pirates. After Chet and Spensa finish with the Path of Elders Part 1, they are immediately attacked by the nowhere itself, where a platform comes speeding at them and is going to destroy the one they are on. They luckily escape, but this is kind of weird, and they don't really like what just happened. Once Spensa and Chet get to the Broadsider base, they make a plan where Spensa's gonna go and steal one of the starships that the Broadsiders have, pick up Chet, and they're going to fly off into the sunset to go find the second Path of Elders. This does not go well because Spensa changes the plan last minute because she thinks that Chet is going to betray her. Spoiler alert, he does not betray her, and she just screws up everything. But Spensa made the mistake of trying to steal a starfighter with a resonant in it, who is a crystal alien who is able to almost meld themselves with a starfighter and fly it by having put all their tendrils in all of the different circuitry, which is so cool. The two resonants, Shiver and Zizzle, I'm gonna go with Zizzle, are really amazing and adorable, and I love them. While we are on the topic of pirates, let's give a quick round out to the other pirates we have. We have Peg, who is a Tensai. She is the leader of the Broadsider Pirates. Then we have Maxim, who is the human of the group, who is just a really nice person and the opposite of everything the Superiority say that the humans are like. We have our two resonants, Shiver and Zizzle. And finally, we have Naluba, who is the Varvax of the group and also the bureaucrat. She is quiet and just super sweet. Honestly, all the pirates are really sweet in this book, and they're very, very lovable. When Spensa is captured by them, they are very excited by this because they want to have more people in the group so they don't lose memories. Spensa is put to work, and after a while she starts to be trusted by the group. Unfortunately, she betrays his trust when she steals a starship and tries to fly away. This does not go well for her though, because she starts to lose herself and eventually she turns around and goes back to the Broadsiders. But they give her a very fair deal if she stays with them and fights in the Pirate Championship. Then they will help her find the next Path of Elders spot. Spensa and the rest of Cutler's Flight go off to find the next Path of Elders spot. While they do this, we have Flight School Part 3, where Spensa teaches the rest of the flight how to fly better. I can't believe we got Flight School Part 3. That's won every main book so far. At the Path of Elders, Spensa learns more about the history of the Nowhere, the meeting of humans with other races, and them trying to collaborate together. And she meets a woman who had cytonic powers to be able to send her memories forward in time. And this woman tells Spensa of this ancient evil that sounds very similar to a Delver, but was before Delver's times, that they had to try and defeat, and gives her some more information. When they leave, they end up in a firefight with Grem, one of Peg's sons, who is also the pirate champion and the leader of one of the other pirate gangs. This is very much so Grem can try and figure out how good this new pilot is that his mother has in her crew. And he wins. He defeats Spensa. He locks up her ship because they are using non-lethal weapons the entire time. All of the fights the pirates have are non-lethal weapons, and they just shoot to stun, and then the ships lock up and they are done and have to be dragged out of the field. But now that Spensa and Grem know the capabilities of each other, Spensa goes along with the rest of the Broadsiders to the Pirate Championship, where she will be crowned Pirate Queen. But instead of fighting Grem, she has to fight someone else who beat Grem just before they arrived. This someone else happens to be...
Drumroll, please.
Hesho! Hesho, who died the last book but didn't die and is now alive again. And also not evil, but sort of evil. He is on the opposing side. He remembers absolutely nothing of his life. He was picked up by another gang of pirates and is now going to be the pirate champion. So Spensa and Hesho duke it out in this battle, and it is in this really cool column with a bunch of rocks in it. And there are these little balls of nowhere where all of the evil Delvers can then try and talk to you and get angry at you and just throw you off by doing so, which Spensa totally uses to her advantage. Spensa wins the fight because she has to become Pirate Queen. Coming back from the Pirate Championship, we get maybe the most adorable scene in the entire book, where Spensa acts out the Lion King for the rest of the Broadsiders, and it is absolutely adorable and heartwarming, and I just couldn't get over that it was even in the book, and it was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, just as they finish this, there is a warning on the radar in the base that there is another giant platform coming towards them at fast speed that's about to destroy them. This is kind of coincidental after it happened the first time, and Spensa has the brilliant idea to get everybody in the ships with light lancers and pull their fragment above the one that is speeding towards them, which is just, that is definitely an interesting move, and yeah, I guess that would work. That would work, and that's kind of cool. Good job, Spensa. After all of this, it is time to attack the Superiority base. There is a Superiority mining base in the nowhere close to the light burst. It also happens to be where the next path of Elders is. The other thing is that Peg used to work at the Shorehold base. She left and took a bunch of people with her and became a pirate because she didn't like what they were doing, and she's always wanted to reclaim it as her own. To do this, though, she needed the combined force of all the pirates, hence the Pirate Championship. Now that she has won, she is able to get all the pirates together to try and attack the base because she has the support of both her sons who were supporting her in secret and was able to show superior might to the other pirate gangs that were there. Gathering the forces, they go to strike the Shorehold base and of course meet the pilots from the Shorehold base and have another fight that has very little tension in it because everyone's using non-lethal weapons. Halfway through the fight, we get something very interesting. It's that a bunch of buildings just pop into the nowhere. Out of nowhere. These are coming through from presumably a Delver attack, they think, where the Delvers are putting matter from the somewhere into the nowhere, and it does add some more tension to the fight because what if they crash? Hesho also is in this fight, and Spensa and Hesho do round number 2, which ends when Spensa is able to get Hesho to fall into line with her because she plays up her being his old flight leader. However, she looks over and he's a Delver, so, you know, that's not going very well. So like every sane person ever, what she does is she gets out of her ship in midair while they are flying, climbs onto the wing, and then jumps onto Hesho's ship and kind of clings on in the middle of a fight in the air. Just in the air. What is she doing? She is able to get the Delver to leave, and Hesho is okay. They eventually get through to the Shorehold base because they have won, and Hesho decides to join Spensa's side because of everything that's happened. After reaching the base, though, Spensa has quite the emotional moment. The entire time she has been in the nowhere, she has been given the fairy tale that she has always wanted. She is able to fly without worrying about her friends. She is able to enjoy life and do things for happiness instead of doing things out of necessity. It is the life that she deserves and the life that she wishes she could have. And she has the choice to keep that. She is given the choice both by Peg, who asks her to stay with the pirates, and also by Chet, who asks her to go exploring and adventuring with him, which she would love to do. And then, of course, she's got the hard choice of whether she returns to the somewhere and whether she goes back to the difficulty that was her life before and the fear and the unknown of what's going to happen. So Spensa has a very big breakdown over this, which I think is entirely fair. And while doing so, she connects with the voice that has been coming from her father's pin and her reality icon this whole time that she thinks was her father, but she wasn't quite sure. And she effectively asks the voice what she could do, and the voice gives her acceptance for whatever choice she makes. And this is what Spensa needs to make her choice. So she decides it's finally time to go find her pin, which she lost earlier in the book, and finds her pin in a grate in the Shorehold cafeteria, along with a teddy bear. After this, she finds out that the pin is actually Doomslug, and that the Tannic slugs change into another object so that they can hide when they are in the nowhere, and the Delvers then can't see them. The teddy bear is the reality icon of Peg, and Peg's been trying to retrieve that as well as take over the Shorehold base. So that is returned to Peg. Spensa and Chet. They realize that they have to do the next Path of Elders. Part of the reason Spensa thought that she might not want to do it is because the Delvers, who had sided with Winzik and made an agreement to help him, offered to break that agreement as long as Spensa didn't keep going, and as long as Spensa stayed in the nowhere and didn't keep pursuing the Path of Elders, they would stop their deal with Winzik. But Spensa realizes and decides that she has to finish the Path of Elders, so she goes to look at the next Path of Elders memories with Chet. This is when she first meets Jason Wright, and Jason Wright's AI, who she realizes looks very similar to a Delver, and oh hey, maybe AIs are what Delvers are. Delvers are AIs. That is what she realizes. And she also hears that Jason was trying to make his Delver sapient, and had learnt that the nowhere is how that was done, but he didn't understand how much time it needed. Chet, however, did understand how much time it needed because he happens to be a Delver. He is the Delver from the end of Starsight that Spensa saved with the power of friendship and who has been trying to help her the entire time. Chet is devastated watching these memories. He doesn't want to remember them, and that's the whole thing with the Delvers. They don't want to remember because that pain is what they tried to escape. And it is hard for Chet to watch these memories with Jason and remember what he had forgotten. But Chet still decides to join with Spensa as she then leaves to go to the next Path of Elders. She leaves very quickly because she realizes that the Delvers were actually going to attack Shorehold and destroy them if Spensa decides to stay. So she leaves to not put her friends in danger, and because she had already decided to keep going. They fly across the empty wasteland that is the nowhere closest to the light burst, and eventually get to a giant wall that is the last point of the Path of Elders. This is where they see the birth of the Delvers as they are. Jason Wright's AI comes into the nowhere weeping, so emotionally distraught, because Jason has just died. And the AI does not know how to deal with the feelings that it has because it's only just become sapient. So it's only just become a baby with emotions, and then suddenly the person who it presumably loves the most is ripped away, and they have to deal with this grief that they don't know how to deal with. And thus, the AI locks away the emotions behind the code and transforms and becomes the Delvers. And this was the memory that the Delvers were trying to forget, because if they remembered, then what if they changed? What if they didn't stay as they currently were because people know about the pain that created them? After this, it is time to get the hell out of Dodge and finally get out of this place. Spensa, Embot, Hesho, and Chet all start flying towards the light burst, and of course the Delvers put up quite a fight to stop them getting there. They threw out random ships, and they don't fly as ships are meant to fly. They fly like asteroids, and Spensa has to try and get around all of them. The problem is, all the Delvers think exactly the same, so it is almost impossible to get around what they are doing. They do, however, have a plan that helps them to get closer to the light burst. Unfortunately, it kind of fails because the drone that they were using to split the minds of the Delvers is destroyed. Chet then, in a noble sacrifice, tries to stop the Delvers himself by rejoining their consciousness and working from within. This doesn't work at all. So our heroes are filled with dread. They don't know what to do. There is no solution that they can see. And then Doomslug tells them to land. So they do. And she tries to hide them. She hides them from all of the Delvers using so much more effort than she has before. It is straining her so much. And then Embot tells them to get out, because he thinks he's seen more Tadic slugs. So Spensa, Hesho, and Doomslug get out of the plane, and then Embot was lying and going off a joke that Spensa had played on him earlier in the book. So he also does a noble sacrifice and flies off and is immediately killed by the Delvers because he's not very good at flying, leaving Spensa, Hesho, and Doomslug to be able to enter the light burst because the Delvers think they've been destroyed and are disappearing. Of course, when they get into the light burst, the Delvers are very aware that actually they didn't destroy our heroes. So they try again, but Spensa can still feel Chet in there. So she grabs onto Chet and they merge into something that is a Chet, Spensa, maybe Delver, I don't know. It's something. Also, we learned that Embos had actually dead. It's just the physical ship that he was in was destroyed, but his mind is still there and he just needs rescuing. Finally, we return to Detritus, to our home planet where we started the series. And then we go to Platform Prime, we go into the conference room, we find Jorgen as the Admiral, and then Spensa swoons and collapses onto Jorgen. When she wakes up, she is mortified that she swooned and also finds out that she was walking around with Delver eyes and everyone was terrified of her. Another thing that she notices is Detritus the planet is now orbiting another planet somewhere else? Okay, what's going on there? Then she reunites with Jorgen in a very adorable scene. This is the closure of this book. This is the end until we get Evershore, and then we will know more. And then after that, Defiant. I hope you enjoyed this recap of Cytonic, and I hope you enjoyed my terrible, terrible acting skills in some of the sections, but it was very fun. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Bye!